Right. So for today's minor quibbles, we're going to be talking about 2022 film The Menu, starring Rafe Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy. Um, so the premise of this film is that a young couple is going to have dinner at an extremely exclusive, very, very high-end, fancy sort of cuisine restaurant that is located on a remote island. And, they take this boat out to the island with, I guess, 10 or 12 other fortunate people. And they're presented with a very interesting dinner. And then things sort of like get really weird from there. Um, and I'm going to say, this is a movie that I think works best if you just sort of accept it as kind of popcorn entertainment, because I felt like it was kind of trying to preach a lot of times in this movie, but I never quite got a handle on what their message actually was. It felt like they were kind of preaching certain things at certain moments in time when it was convenient to do so, and then at other times would sort of contradict itself. So just to
Yeah.
get right into the quibbles,
No, I don't. I
you
actually
know,
kind of disagree. Like, I mean, yeah, was it maybe like saying some stuff? Yeah, sure, I
yeah,
guess. But it was also, I think the strength of this movie is it
mhm.
never took itself seriously at all.
Okay,
Even in those moments where it's trying to discuss the concepts, that you're talking about there. I just don't think it ever took itself seriously, which
okay,
made it work because it's so ludicrous. The entire thing is so ludicrous. The plot
yeah,
really doesn't make any good sense at all.
right.
And
That's true.
you could just, I don't know, you could deflate this thing instantaneously if you decided that you were going to go down that road, but I just don't think that it was trying at all to do that. I think it was just trying to
I
present itself with a great fun premise and scenario and just exploiting it to the nth degree. Like it
it
was just
did
so
do
fun.
that. But here's the thing, though. I mean, I didn't get the sense of tongue in cheek from this. I didn't. I felt like the performances were, yeah, they were a little bit over the top, but I guess there was like a kind of, um, how do I put this? It's like on the one hand, you've got Ray Fiennes, who's this amazing chef, and he creates these incredible contemporary concoctions that make you think. He sort of intellectualizes food and presents it to you in a certain way, like some Michelin star restaurants will do. And and on the one hand, it's like, okay, this stuff that he does is ingenious, and okay, but then you have these wealthy people who are coming to the restaurant, and the film sort of wants you to be like they don't appreciate the food, like they're there because they have the money, but they're kind of like they don't get it, or they're unwilling to accept what he's putting together. And then so the movies are sort of setting up this scenario where it's like, okay, he's a genius in making this incredible food, and here are these people who like they don't and can't appreciate the genius of what he's doing because they're too detached or whatever. But then you get like Anya Taylor Joy's character, who's like coming at it from this populist point of view, and she's just like, I won't eat this food. This food doesn't make me. I'm not. This food doesn't make me want to eat it. This isn't real food. Can I have some food, please? And here's the thing. I guess what I'm getting at is like the mess. The movie, in the way it portrays her, I think is clearly saying that she's the right one. She's the one who has the correct point of view here, just based on how they treat her. Like she always gets like the spicy barb, back at what the characters are saying. She's always treated in the most flattering light of all the characters. But like that, it feels like that point of view kind of contradicts the other message that the film is sending, that there are these other snobs who like just don't get the food that he's doing. So I don't
Right.
know. I was just like having trouble like piecing that together.
Yeah. Well, I
I
guess
didn't feel like it was quite as. I feel like it was kind of trying to say something, and
Well, I guess my point with that is you can find meaning in just about anything,
yeah,
and artists can impart meaning in just about anything.
sure.
Um, and like, is this movie about like classism? Is it a takedown of the bourgeoisie? Like, are these like ideas that it's playing with? Yeah, sure, okay. But I mean, ultimately, this was a texture movie. Like, I think it was more just about like oh, I can't wait to see like what happens next, like how's it going to relate to the food or whatever. It's just I don't know it, but it's ultimately it's so silly. And I guess just to what you were saying about Margot's character is, I mean, that's the whole point, is that she wasn't supposed to be there.
Right.
So that's why I think it like she kind of has to exist in that movie to a way, because if it was the person who was meant to be there, then the night would have gone perfectly the way it was supposed to.
Sure.
But she throws the wrench in the process. So whatever. But I mean, it's if there's nothing else to take away from the movie outside of it just feeling like, hey, that was really fun and I really enjoyed the cleverness of it, and the performances or whatever, it's just that I think the movie is generally correct in its concept that fine dining is ridiculous, and I love it as much as the next person when I can afford to do it.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, what do I want? The fucking burger. I want the burger,
Right.
like,
of course.
it's not something that I'm going to go to more than a couple of times a year, because it's like, it's excessive, and it's, it's not sustainable either, on any front. It's not sustainable for anyone. So it's like, I get the message in a lot of ways from the movie. I think it's spot on, but I don't think that the message is really the most important thing. I think the most important thing is to sit down and enjoy the menu. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think maybe like my reaction to this movie was sort of similar to a reaction that I had to a different film called The Last Duel, the Ridley Scott movie from a few. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Something that would be very worthy of quibbling about here. But it does this thing that like I think a lot of films are doing these days, where the writers like they want to do something that seems sophisticated, right? And that shows you different points of view. And so in the case of like The Last Duel, the conceit is similar to Rashomon, where you see one point of view and then the other point of view and then like a third point of view, right? And that's like intellectually interesting. It's engaging. Like, what are all these people saying? And the great thing about Rashomon was that no answer is given, right? It's like point of view, point of view, point of view. I mean, you kind of, it kind of shows you the truth, and the truth like ends up being a mix, right? But in a movie like this, The Menu, and in The Last Duel, it's like it's presenting these different points of view on like what is going on and like the nature of food, how we should appreciate food. It's like, on the one hand, yes, artistic expression. This guy is clearly an artist, sympathetic to him. On the other hand, it's super like kind of elitist and overly intellectualizing this thing that should just be like a really human experience. And that's true too. And the movie wants to present those things. Here's the thing that bothers me. Sorry to be so long-winded. The thing that bothers me is the movie wants to have both. It wants to present all the points of view, but the writers also want to be like correct, and they want to be sort of like woke correct. And so they'll show you the different points of view, but at the very end, they'll be like, by the way, that's the right point of view. They'll like pick the point of view and they'll be like, that is the correct point of view. And I feel like they were doing that with Margot's point of view. They were kind of saying like, yeah, look at all these points of view. By the way, that's the correct one. Mm-hmm. And they did that in The Last Duel, where you see the point of view of the two men, and then like the third act is like the woman's story, and they literally subtitle it The Truth. It's literally like, oh, this is the true story. The woman's take is like the actually accurate story.
So your problem with the movie is that you feel like you were spoon-fed the way that you think the movie wants you to think about things.
Yeah, that's how I felt watching it. And agreeing with everything else you said about how like, yeah, you kind of need to just like, it's very about texture. It's sort of, it's the point of the movie is to have fun ultimately. And but still, if I have to quibble about something, that is my quibble.
I guess my
sort of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I guess my feeling on it is just I did not have that experience with it. Like I think once I tuned into the idea that just conceptually it makes no sense. Like it's like there's no like if this was the point and all of you are all like suicidal and this is the last minute, it's like what's the point in like cooking the food
to begin with, right?
In general, like it's like once you start peeling it back and realizing, wait a second, it wouldn't make sense. Like, I just don't think the writers or the filmmakers really concerned themselves too much with just like making a neat little package where if you don't pull the thread, the whole thing doesn't fall apart. You know, it's it falls apart. But I don't think that they cared. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong for me to put that sort of behavior onto somebody else. But me as a viewer, that's just how I took it. And I feel like it's indicative of a certain a couple of lines or a couple of scenes here and there. Is like there's even at the end when they're setting up like the s'mores thing, which is like just so obviously like that's what's gonna come towards the end of this. Like as soon as I saw them bring out like the hat or whatever, I was like, oh, it's gonna be s'mores, which I loved. But I think they even say like, let's face it, you probably could have gotten away if you wanted to,
right?
If you tried harder,
right?
Which is just kind of acknowledging how ludicrous the whole thing is. It's like any one of us in that scenario, I feel like would have just tried fucking harder. You know what I mean? Like there's even the moment where all the men have run away and all the women are there having that one dish with like the sous chef.
Yeah.
And they're all like drinking bottles of wine. It's like
just having a chit chat. Yeah.
There's your fucking moment. Grab the bottle of wine and smack her on the face with it and go. You know what I mean? Like I just,
or if you know you're gonna get killed, like you could take your chances with the sea, right? You could
exactly.
Maybe the island is like 10 miles away, but at the same time, like maybe
take your chances elsewhere instead of like having a slow, agonizing death or something. But I think that that's in there to kind of point out how ludicrous it is in general, and also that maybe a lot of these characters didn't try because they recognize how shitty they are in general, you know? And it's like, okay.
They accepted that they deserve to be burned alive in a s'more.
Yeah, I guess that's, you know, which is in itself ludicrous because nobody is going to be like, yeah, man, I fudged my taxes, I deserve to die here, you know, like
it's ludicrous is a great word for this whole movie. You know, I enjoyed watching it. It's kind of weird, like I was kind of literally eating popcorn as I was watching it, and I was kind of like, this movie kind of is good and also kind of sucks, I don't know, but like the punishments, speaking of like who deserves what, seem like so excessive. Like now maybe the main chef is just a psychopath and that's what we take from this, that he's going to give excessive punishment to people. But again, given that the movie definitely seemed to have a point of view that they're about like what is and isn't the righteous stance to take in this movie, it did seem excessive to me that like one guy gets burned alive because he had affairs, you know, like he cheated on his wife, so that guy deserves to have his finger cut off.
Yeah, I think the implication there is deeper than that. I think the implication is that he was a daughter diddler.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah, and that the wife and the wife is culpable because she just looked the other way. And the reason is
like
that
Ghislaine Maxwell of that relationship.
Yeah, and I think Margot, the reason is like he recognizes Margot-ish, and she recognizes him, and she even says that like he just like watched me while he was jerking off and said that I looked like his daughter. And I think the implication is like
must have taken a bathroom
much darker than just like, oh, he's having affairs. Okay, but I think
that's acceptable.
But again, to go to the ludicrous point, it's also like Chef is real pissed off because he doesn't remember a single thing that he's had at Hawthorne's ever. You know, he says God, and he's like, it was halibut, you bastard. It's just fucking stupid. You know, like the movie is just, I don't know. It would be a problem to me, I think, if Mark Mylod would like have an article or an interview and like start talking out of his ass, pontificating about like the meaning of the movie. Like that would bring it down a step for me. But I just don't think that they were. It's like, can you attach things to it? Sure. Should you? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But let's not sit here and be pretentious about it. Like I don't think they were. I think they were just like, this is kind of a fun idea for a movie.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take it up to 10.
Okay. You know what? I think you're selling me on this. I maybe my final holdout is just that I interpret certain aesthetics a certain way. Like that gives an overarching sense of whether a film is to be taken seriously or sort of not. And I felt like the framing of this movie, like there was definitely comedy in the whole way through. I mean, even from the very beginning, like there was humor to it, which was well done and everything. But something about the slickness maybe of the overall presentation of the film left me with the feeling that this was a little bit self-serious. Like there was something to that, but I will grant that I don't know that for a fact. It could just be that they kind of wanted to have this like kind of slick vibe to it.
And I could be wrong too. Maybe everyone got on board with this because they were like, yeah, this is a nice takedown on the wealthy elite and excess and yada yada. And it's like all these different things that are just I don't know, too big for my britches with a movie like this. It's like if I want that, I'll watch a Bergman, and like get it in spades, very well done. Like I don't need this from this particular movie. And I'll say in full disclosure, I 100% got a burger right after. Like we immediately were like, it's burger time. Like we're getting a burger.
That was a big mistake on my part not to do that. Actually,
I was
that did look like the greatest burger that could possibly be made.
Definitely. And I'm going to give the movie props too, because I think that whole last interaction was just like kind of pitch perfect. Where it's like, no, I'm full. Can I take it to go? Yeah. That's great. It's just a well-constructed thing. But it's like, as soon as I start thinking about the reality of this scenario, it's like, no, this doesn't make any sense at all. Right. Nobody's going to sit here depressed, ready to die. And like, oh shit, we got those chicken thighs. We better start cooking those because,
it's over the top.
Yeah.
It's I'll say like one thought that came to mind. This is not a quick praise or criticism. It gave me a bit of a Agatha Christie vibe to it. Like I kept thinking of I don't know if you've read And Then There Were None, but
I am familiar with it.
It's very similar in construction, where basically various people who don't have any relation to each other are all like invited to this island that like you can only get to via this boat, and like if the boat's not available due to weather, like you're pretty much stuck on the island. And long story short,
10 Little Indians, right? Okay, maybe I said 10 Little Indians, right? I mean, isn't that
I don't.
Maybe I'm conflating things. I don't know.
Maybe something. Well, all I know is the book's called "And Then There Were None," but maybe that's the name of the song or nursery rhyme or whatever. Where
maybe.
Anyway, whatever. Well, we can Wikipedia it afterward, but anyway, they get to the island, and as you may expect, Agatha Christie, they each end up getting murdered, but they don't know the connection between them, and so they have to figure out like who's killing us, who's the killer, why are we brought here. So this was very similar in structure to that. Which I think is good. It gave it kind of like a cozy, fun feeling. So that you're going to be seeing, something a little morbid, but also fun at the same time.
And to be quite honest, I'm glad that it didn't go the direction that I feel like it wanted you to believe it was going to go, which was like cannibalism or something. I'm glad that it ended up not being that, and it was just its own sort of chamber piece of. Not a whodunit exactly, but it was done, and it's being done to you now. Overall enjoyable. I think it's worth watching, and I think it's just another movie. Like I think this might actually be a really good Thanksgiving movie. I don't know why. It just feels like a good Thanksgiving time movie. That's like pair it with Knives Out. It's like first watch Knives Out, and then once all the kids go to bed after Knives Out, then the adults can watch The Menu and continue the sort of tradition, I guess.
I like that a lot. No, I agree. Anything where it's like kind of a group of people and there's going to be conflict. That's a good pick.
I don't know. I don't have too much else to say about it. I don't think I did appreciate Nicholas Holt's character. I think obviously I'm him. Like I think I'm that dude. Like I don't take pictures of my food, but it's like I definitely am that guy who like when I go out to fine dining, it's like I'm kind of eating it all up. Not to put too fine a point on it, but it's like, wow, is that bergamot? Yeah, wow, that's really interesting. Like, wow, I can't believe they paired that.
Well, it was interesting. I mean, I didn't quite get why the film was. I felt like that. I felt it was a little harsh on him. I mean, I know that he like turns out to be like a total douchebag sociopath at the end, but at least in the beginning part of the movie. Like he's kind of showing this very sincere, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And maybe he's kind of acting like a little bit of an asshole about it, but he's showing this sincere interest. And I feel like the film keeps trying to get you to think like, look at this idiot. He thinks that this food's really interesting. I was like, what are you talking about? Like it is. It's like it's objectively interesting to be doing this kind of shit that this chef is doing. So why is the film making fun of this guy for for his interest. So
Yeah, I guess it's maybe to keep you guessing as to like really what's going on there. Not understanding his relationship to Margot,
yeah,
not understanding why he's there.
right.
And I think it's just I like how they kind of put the little indications here and there with him and his character, because it's like the moment you know something is legit up, not only in the scenario but also with him, is when the sous chef like shoots himself after displaying his dish,
Yeah.
and he does not react to that at all. He's
He's
just kind
just
of like, wow, it's
continuing to eat
delicious,
it.
that's amazing, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, so this guy's in on it, or I don't know.
I agree. I thought that that was handled well, and I did appreciate the kind of slow build of his kind of his dark side, his two-facedness. You know, like
Yeah,
he seems really sweet at first, and he's like, you know, talking about how beautiful and charming Margot is, but then like every minute he'll snap and he'll kind of do something that's like a little bit beyond the pale. But
yeah,
then it just kind of like it ramps up, and then you start to realize that this guy is like not a good guy.
yeah.
But still, again, it's just more that because the film itself seemed to be mocking his food enthusiasm. I was like, but wait a minute.
But yeah,
You think I'm a douchebag because I like interesting intellectual food?
yeah, self-reflection there. It's like, yeah, we're, people like us, we deserve to die because we
Look, I
really,
like boigas too, but I
yeah,
also like the fancy shit now and then. It's fun.
yeah, it is
Like,
fun.
well, like a twice a year, maybe, well, once a year actually in my case, but yeah.
Yeah, special occasions, why not? But it's, it's not always like that. Like sometimes you just go to a place that has really good food. It's not per se where you're like there for 4 hours or whatever. But um, yeah, worth the watch.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's worth watch it. You know, not going to change your life, but it's like definitely entertaining, and it's really compact too, right?
Yeah,
It's like 90
yeah,
minute,
yeah.
90-minute thing. So, final thing, just to close out on this movie, the question is,
Yeah.
um, assuming that everything they say about this chef in the film is true and that he's not going to murder you, would you want to go to this restaurant for
What did you
the
say it was?
1200? It's like $1,200, I think, per person.
Um,
I think they say, and
well, okay. So interestingly enough, the food was developed by Dominique Crenn, who is a chef that I would like to I would like to eat her food because it's just very artistic and it looks awesome. And I would doubt that her restaurant is a 1,200 a head sort of thing.
Mhm.
Would I go to this restaurant? No, because I think you're paying for like the experience of going to the island and it's very
Mhm.
exclusive. I
Mhm.
don't need to pay for the theatrics.
Mhm.
I'll pay for the food if it's something that you've curated and it is like, you know, that expensive for that good of a reason, because that's what it costs to make. But I would get the impression that going to Hawthorne means that you're paying for the gas that the boat is using to get you over there,
Yeah.
and for, overnight accommodations and, other shit that I don't care about. But I thought the food looked awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Same thing. I don't think I would end up actually going to this place, but in principle, if there were a more accessible price point, and it were something I could just get to in the city, I think I would definitely want to check it out because
Yeah.
it's interesting.
And I do want the burger.
Yeah, as long as they end with the burger, yeah.